My name is Pam Childs. Most people, when they hear Special Victims Unit, think of television drama. For me, it's been my life. Since 2001, people have known me as someone who closes missing persons cases. But there's one case that has remained unsolved for 22 years, since my first year as a detective on the job until now.
July 6, 2001, Tracy Bradley leaves her daughter's home alone while she goes to work. She returns to find a note saying they were headed for this school. They never made it.
We were all sent out. Every able body that's working for the Chicago Police Department.
A massive police investigation by air, water, and along the railroad tracks.
It was the biggest manhunt that the city of Chicago ever had. 22 years, 5 lead detectives. Several of them have died since these girls disappeared. We've since seen 9/11, a housing crisis, and a major pandemic. And yet Diamond and Tionda Bradley are still missing. From the very beginning, there were elements to this story that just didn't sit right.
Within the community, the south side of Chicago, from what I understand, there's been a great deal of suspicion against the mother. That's not to say that she's guilty of anything.
This case has haunted me for 22 years. At the heart of it, the Bradley family has changed forever.
I saw my mom coming my way, and she was just like, "Rita, have you seen Tionda and Diamond?" I'm like, "No." And then she was like, "Get up, they missing."
I was feeling like something is wrong.
The mystery remains, and the case is wide open. And somebody knows what happened to Tionda and Diamond. When the Bradley girls disappeared in 2001, I was a new detective. I gave all of my missing persons cases, the dedication, everything I had to give for 29 years with the Chicago Police Department. If a victim has been missing for a year or maybe 9 months, that is so unusual. But for Tionda and Diamond, these girls have been missing for 22 years.
My name is Ed Caroll. I'm a retired Chicago police detective. I was a Chicago police officer for 26 years. I retired in 2013. I was a detective for 13 years. I still miss the job. I came upon the Bradley case when I got assigned to Bradley in the cold case department.
This case did become the largest missing in persons investigation in Chicago that we had ever seen in the city at the time.
For the Bradley family, the summer of 2001 was like any other.
The 4th of July was 2 days before the girls disappeared.
Our July 4th celebrations in Chicago are very robust, very loud, very crowded. No matter where you go, you know, you can ride down any street in any neighborhood and you can smell the barbecue coming from the grills. You can hear the kids playing. Maybe you can see the ice cream truck. You hear the fireworks.
The 4th of July, 2001, was one of the last times that the family was all together. For Tracy, the girl's mother, it was a good day. You guys had a family outing, is that correct, on the 4th of July? Where was that?
Washington Park. We had a little thing out there, and we had fun, you know?
Okay, like a family barbecue?
Yes, something like that.
Me, my mom, and some of my cousins and my auntie, we had went to Washington Park. That was the 4th of July. We was by the lake.
Water, yeah.
Because I remember we had a ball and Diamond kept hitting the ball in the water. So I remember that. Tionda the only one had on a different color that day. We all had on purple. Tionda had on green. And Diamond had purple.
Ponytails with the
Yes.
twisties going down.
Yeah.
And how old were you in 2001?
12.
And Victoria?
8, 9.
It's essential with missing people to retrace their steps in the days leading up to their disappearance. You never know what detail might emerge that breaks the case open. This is Washington Park. This is the park that Tracy Bradley and her family spent 4th of July together. It's the last place that the family spent time with Tionda, Diamond, Victoria, and Rita all together.
My niece Tracy had 4 kids. We've always just been one big family. Ooh, Lord have mercy. You know, I write them down as each baby is born.
At the time, I was in my early 20s. Tionda was 10 and Diamond was 3. Tionda was very outspoken, very mature for her age. She knew how to cook during that time. She was a little mini adult, to be honest. So she took that role of having a big personality, so that way you knew who she were. Diamond had barrettes and beads all the time. She was a baby. She can talk as much as, I would say, at least 20 words. Diamond was more the shy one.
At the time, the girl's mom, Tracy, was dating a friend of hers named George Washington. Re-examining the facts of this case 22 years later, I want to ask the family more about him. Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with George. You have been dating him for how long?
Wow, since 95, 96, somewhere over there.
She didn't like George. She loved him. She was in love with George, and I've never seen her as happy as I was with George.
What did he do?
It was just the attention. The attention. He would show up at her house and just spend time with her and talk with her.
We would go out for a little bit, and at nighttime he'd come and get me, and we'd just go to his house.
My understanding is that George was never close to the girls.
Only time we probably been connected with George if we at my grandma's house or he pick us up. Cause mama, she'll go pick us up from there. She'll pick all of us up and take us home so we can get ready and go to school. I never been to his house, never been to eat with him, never in life.
Moving on to the 5th of July.
Yes.
You were home with all your daughters, correct?
Yes. July the 5th, George Washington asked her, do we want to go camping? And,
He asked you on the 5th of July if you wanted to go camping? Okay.
I have to go back to refresh my memory.
Okay.
It might have probably been about a week ago or something like that. So
So a week prior to July 5th?
Right,
Okay.
right. It was his say-so that he wanted to go camping. It was going to be a weekend. I did not know where it was at, but I went to the store and bought some camping stuff, like a tent.
George was planning to go on a camping trip, but I was surprised that he cared enough to take Tracy and her kids.
Probably really a couple months before, they just kept saying that we was all gonna go camping. But then down the line, it was like, we're gonna take Tionda and Diamond first, and then you and Victoria the next week.
Cause my mama, she wasn't struggling, but come on, you got 4 kids, so, you know, it was a hard time. And they just felt like they couldn't afford to take all 4.
Victoria explained to me that Rita and Victoria were at their grandmother's house the night before, the evening of the 5th of July, and Tionda and Diamond stayed home with Tracy. I didn't really understand that, but I guess, you know, people have their reasoning for doing things that they do. There have to be a logical reason why the 4 girls were separated.
We ended up dropping them off, and I think we went back to the house. Diamond and Tionda was there. They were sleeping on the bed.
What happened the rest of that evening?
just have to think back a little.
Okay, take your time.
We ended up dropping them off, and I think we went back to the house, or we either went somewhere. Or either to the house or somewhere we went. That was it. I got on the couch and laid down, went to sleep. The next day, I told Tionda, I'm going to work. After that, we go camping. Don't open the door for nobody. George took me to work. He dropped me off.
So you get to work at like about 7 in the morning?
Yes. Yeah, because I have to open up, yes.
Okay. So you two adults are the only two people that had knowledge that Tionda and Diamond was in that apartment alone.
Right.
When you left for work that morning.
Yes, they was there.
No one else knew?
No.
Tracy was working the lunch, what they used to call a lunch program.
Yes.
After work, she was going on a camping trip.
Okay. And you started checking in on the girls by calling?
Yes. After that morning, I had like a little lunch break. So I called and I called and I called. It wasn't no answer. It just kept going to voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. Then I called my mom. My mom, and she kept calling. She kept calling the house too.
Okay. At some point, George Washington returns.
Yes, pick me up. George picked me up from work, and coming home, and the back door was open. And we walked up the stairs and everything, and I put my key in the door, and I called for Diamond Tionda. So I was nervous and, you know, like, where are they, you know?
When Tracy entered her apartment from work on the morning of the 6th, around noonish, there was a note that was discovered in the house.
There was a note. It was on the back of the couch. It said that they were going to the school and they was going up to the store. I find it odd.
And when we went up the stairs, my mom opened the door. My mom just knocked the TV over and got to crying and got to calling the family.
My sister, Marie, told Tracy, do not call the police. Let's just look for the kids, because if you call the police, they're gonna take Vicky and Rita.
I was scared. I wanted to find them, you know, like on my own to see if I can find them, you know, and see who house they went to, you know, and just look around. So we went by the lake and all over there and everything, you know, searching and asking, you know, have you seen two little girls, you know? They're like, no, no.
And in your mind, you're thinking, you know, I left them alone. I could get in trouble for this.
Yes.
Really reacquaint myself with this case, I had to go back to where it all began. We were all sent out after 7 p.m. on that same evening. According to their mom, the girls were not in the apartment when she returned home from work at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's an 8-hour jump that any bad guy has on us to be successful in locating these girls and tracking where they could possibly be.
One Chicago neighborhood is focused on two little girls who've been missing since Friday.
A massive police investigation followed by air, water, and along the railroad tracks. Canine search teams went through empty lots and more than 5,000 abandoned buildings.
The playgrounds on the south side of Chicago, empty.
There's just no kids out here. It's like this now every day since the children been missing.
That evening, when people were getting home and in their business day, that's when the city started to find out that the girls were missing. So we sprang into action. We went to Bronzeville, to the scene where they say they were missing from, to find out who knew something. Any small thing could help with pieces of this puzzle.
After having a briefing in our office, we went out and we were on the scene. We were in the apartment. I observed the apartment wasn't normal disarray, which means that tables weren't turned over. It didn't appear to be a fight, but it was just normal household items in the apartment. Family members were there. Other police officers were there. It sort of became a scene of concern for all of the police that were involved. I interviewed the mom, Tracy Bradley, for approximately an hour that morning. Tracy Bradley leaves her home knowing that Tionda and Diamond is in the house by themselves. And Tracy Bradley had with her friend, George Washington, at approximately 6:00 a.m. when Tracy usually left for work. They walked out of that apartment and closed that door.
I've always taught them that if I'm going to the store or something like that, tell them if I'm going out, don't open up the door for nobody. Tionda was smart. She was very intelligent. For her to be 10 years old, Diamond was little. She didn't know no better. But Diamond always looked up to Tionda. She was just that special child that was on top of what I tell or say, don't open up a door, don't do this, don't do that.
In life, especially when you have your own family, any working family leave their children at home alone at that age. It was common. When she had stuff to do, yeah, she left us in the house by herself. You know, she did.
Okay, but you were 12.
Yeah, I was old enough.
At the very beginning, in the deepest part of me, I felt that somebody had the girls. There was no signs of forced entry at the house. All types of things were being said, but in my heart of hearts, I felt like the girls were kidnapped by somebody that they knew. And George and Tracy were the only two people that we can look at to bring more clarity to what happened to Tionda and Diamond. When speaking to Tracy, her demeanor ranged from distraught to afraid to defensive. After a few hours of the investigation, Tracy Bradley explained to me that everybody in the entire Bradley family knew that there was this mad search going on, and George Washington, Tracy's boyfriend, never got involved.
Did you start looking for the kids
Yes,
in the complex?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. There's a lot of people searching.
Word is
and looking,
traveling.
right? All of us, we all went out.
Everybody in your family, friends,
Yes, yes.
people you know. Is
Yes.
George with you?
Yes. Yeah, I was looking, you know, he was just stayed in the car. He stayed in the car.
He told Tracy to call him. Later, let him know what's going on with Tionda and Diamond. That evening, he never returns.
It's important to note that George told the press that he, quote, tried to help investigators find them at the beginning.
According to their mom, she didn't report them missing until after 7 p.m. That's almost 8 hours that those girls were gone. So I needed to find out what Tracy was doing during those 8 hours before police got involved. This is the 31st Street Beach area. They're at 31st Street. They lived at 35th Street, so that's a 5-block radius. This is one of the first areas that Tracy Bradley came to, as she have again informed us that she was dropped off on the bridge by George Washington, and she walked over to the lakefront. This is the area that Tracy Bradley walked to. This is the area that the Chicago Police Department searched, and there were no signs of Tionda and Diamond Bradley.
Things kind of start kicking in for Tracy. So she starts calling around to various neighbors, various family members, asking if they've seen the girls.
George Sr. is the family friend who lived nearby Tracy and the daughters, and he was a family friend. He was known, so he was also just part of the family, but not part of the family.
Would Tionda know enough to go over to, like, George Senior's apartment?
Yes,
Or-
yes,
okay.
she know where she know, right. Yeah.
The kids used to call George Senior Porgy.
Porgy, exactly, exactly.
Did he babysit for you on occasion?
He, a couple of times.
Did you happen to go to his house that day? And ask him if he'd seen the kids?
I think I went up there, or either I called.
Okay. Or you called? Okay. And
Yes.
he told you he hadn't
He
seen
said
the
I
kids.
ain't seen them. He said I haven't seen them.
Okay.
July 6, 2001, Tracy Bradley leaves her daughters home alone while she goes to work. She returns to find a note saying they were headed for this school. They never made it.
I remember my mom just kept saying she just left a letter, and she just showed me the letter. And me and Diamond are going to the store and to the school. And I remember the exact words because I read the letter.
The note said, me going to the store. What store? I was nervous and, you know, like, where are they, you know?
Right,
You
right,
know?
of course.
After speaking more with the family, the note doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Tionda was 10, Diamond was only 3, so it seems to me like a stretch that a 3-year-old could walk very far. So I decide to retrace the route the girls could have taken to go to the store to determine the plausibility of that theory. This could have possibly been the store that Tionda and Diamond was going to, amongst other stores that's in the area. We are a few blocks away from the complex, not a great distance for adults and children to walk, but a great distance for children alone to walk to get to the Jewel food store. It has not been stated that this is the store that was indicated in the note, but this is a store that's close by that could be the location that Tionda was speaking of. Another theory important to re-examine is that the girls went to the nearby school playground. This is the James Doolittle Elementary School that Tionda attended, and Tionda was also enrolled in summer school in 2001, but on July 6, Tionda did not attend school. We don't have any reliable information that they actually showed up there.
At least a dozen FBI agents have been working the case.
Diamond and Tionda's family found the note unusual because they said that the way the note was written didn't reflect how she would usually have written something. After the FBI got involved in the case fairly early on after the girl's disappearance, they did take the note that Tionda wrote for her handwriting analysis to confirm that it was Tionda's handwriting and not someone else's, the results of which had not returned yet.
It wasn't going to come back for a little while, and it's a process. It takes time.
The next morning, the morning of July 7th, Faith, who is Tracy's sister, was there in the apartment, and Faith had recently set up all of the family's cell phones. She decided to listen to Tracy's voicemail, and the family was shocked to find there was a message from Tionda from the day of the disappearance.
Does anybody know what time that message was left? Does anybody recall?
I remember it was either 8:02 or 8:20 a.m. I remembered that.
How did you guys come about? Did she bring it to you? Did she say, hey, listen to this?
We were all sitting in Tracy's home on the couch when we heard it. It was Faith, myself. It was my mom. Tracy was in the other room. And it was a few other people that was actually in the home during that time.
Okay.
It was majority of the family, and then it was some of Tracy's closest friends.
And you don't recall who actually played the message?
I don't recall.
Did you hear the message?
I did.
Tell me about it.
It says, Mommy, I'm going to the store with George.
So would it be unusual for George to show up at the door, George Washington, to show up at this door, trying to get her to open that door?
I would say yes, it is.
Tracy said there was the voicemail left by Tionda. The voicemail left so many questions unanswered.
Interviewing the family, their statements have me questioning some things. The note and the voicemail. In my opinion, it feels like everybody has a different story. I have to explore this more. Shalia Smith, Tracy's aunt, has a copy of the message.
I begged her to give that to me. I told her I'd fly anywhere in the world on my own dime with a tech from Chicago to get that message. And we have never, to this day, heard that message.
This whole situation is just, and like I told you, this is really a messed up situation. She's holding on to it.
Why would that doesn't make sense. Why would anybody hold that message?
What do you think about that message?
Well,
Is it real?
It had to be if she left the message on the phone.
So there is really a message that Tionda left.
Right,
Okay.
so George is at the door.
George Washington has also confirmed to the media that he, quote, took Tracy to work that morning, but denied showing up at the apartment later when the girls allegedly called their mom to say someone was at the door.
I asked George Washington about that message.
What did he say?
He said, I don't know why she would say I was at the door. I wasn't there.
Did you ever speak with Tracy about what happened?
Well, after I got there and she was still being questioned.
Questioned by?
The police department, Chicago police.
Bradley, a single mother of 4, she's had to withstand the subtle and not so subtle accusations that she somehow was to blame for the girls' disappearance.
How were you feeling about the police when they took you in to question you and talk to you, and more than one time? Am I right about it? How did you feel about that?
I felt really kind of angry.
Okay. You felt like you were being tortured.
Yeah, they hit the table. You know where those damn kids at.
And my first conversation with Tracy about that is when they were questioning her, and I had asked, damn, how long she been in there? And she came back to the house. And so I looked at Tracy, and Tracy says, why the is everybody looking at me like I did something to my kids? Mm-hmm. And at that point, I think I was so angry, like, you supposed to know where your kids are. You're supposed to know what the hell happened.
Okay.
So I jumped up to grab her because I was gonna just push her off.
It's okay. Take your time.
I just wanted to push her out the window. Because I felt if you wouldn't have left them, they would be gone. And Tracy left. She waited till I went in the back and left out the door.
She didn't want to have a confrontation with you?
Nobody wanted to have a confrontation with me.
Tracy couldn't deal with the questions for her. In a citywide manhunt, we're looking at everybody. Whether you're the mother, the brother, sister, father, it doesn't matter. We need some answers. Tracy shut down. We were trying to identify certain things that we were told, such as they were going on a camping trip later that evening. I expected to see something that would say, yes, we are really doing this, we're going on a camping trip, but I didn't see anything that told me they were going camping.
I just wonder where the tent was at. Or were they just gonna go for a picnic and come back? Maybe that's what they call a camping trip. It was Victoria's birthday, one of the days that they were supposed to go camping. So maybe Mom was gonna celebrate it when they got back, but I always thought that that was odd. I understand leaving Tionda with Diamond because Tionda and Diamond were very close. But how they made the determination to take Rita and Vicky to Grandma's house that night, usually when they would go over there, the four of them would go together, or at least three of the four. How they determine that is, I don't know. I would love to find that out. It's definitely a question that needs to be asked.
So Rita and Victoria were not going camping?
No.
And I get it that you say you don't really have an answer as to why all four girls were not going?
Right.
There was not enough to charge Tracy with anything. I suspected George Washington as being the offender of the two girls going missing. I felt that way because he and Tracy knew that Tionda and Diamond were alone in the apartment when Tracy Bradley left. And they were the only two people who knew. There were several things going on in Tracy Bradley's life with George Washington that I don't think has ever really come to light as to why George would hurt these girls.
George's cell phone records from the day of the disappearance were requested and given to the police. There were only 2 periods that day, the day that the girls disappeared, that he was not making phone calls. One of them was between, I think, roughly 7 and 9 a.m., which is when the girls theoretically would have been home alone. Second time was at roughly 5 to 6:30, so after he had left Tracy and her family to search for the girls. Although the police found this kind of suspicious activity, nothing in it was strong enough to point to him as an official suspect, to give police anything to go on in terms of where the girls could potentially be located.
Also, it's since come out, Tracy had sued George for paternity, saying that, Diamond was his. I don't get the impression that George wanted to pay for a child. So Tracy sued him for paternity. They took his DNA.
The results of which had not returned yet.
When George found out that you had Diamond, what was his reaction?
He was upset because I think during that time he was married.
Mm-hmm. He was married.
I believe that he didn't want Diamond, and that's why he wasn't claiming her.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't ever want Diamond. I don't know if it's because he had a wife or he had other women. I don't know what the case is, but I feel like he just didn't want to he didn't want to deal with that.
So you were kind of going it on your own with Diamond?
Yes. Sometimes you don't know which way the anger of this man is coming from.
What threats did he make?
He used to always say, if you leave me, I'll kill you. He always threw a lot of threats to me and my family.
Do you think that he gave you the respect that you deserve?
Not at all. No respect.
But you still loved him?
Yes.
Why?
Because I saw interest in him.
Okay.
It's like, I just really loved this man, what I'm saying? Thought that, he'd be the right one for me and all and everything.
He was the trickster in Tracy's life. Tracy loved him. Tracy wanted him to be in her life. But Tracy wanted more from him. She wanted him to love her, something that he was never going to do.
It's very hard to believe that the girls have been missing for more than 22 years. It's hard to believe that with the number of tips that have come in, when the FBI originally created the tip line back in 2001, they got over 800 tips. It's hard to kind of get your mind around the fact that there is so little information, that there is so little to go on, despite what seems like a huge volume of information coming in.
Occasionally we would get tips that would come in. Some of them I had to farm out. For instance, there was a call from a religious leader in Indianapolis that one of his constituents knew about the case. And it came back as nothing. Another one came in where they were being held hostage on a sex slave ring in Kincaid, Illinois. So we went down there and we did a canvass of the neighborhood. It was a beautiful neighborhood in Kincaid, and nothing. Nobody had ever seen these girls before. There was an investigation in Cook County with a confidential informant in the Cook County Jail. And over the course of 5 months, we were able to determine that he was full of beans. He had no viable information about those two kids, but what he was doing was leading us on. He was giving us a little bit more, and since we didn't want to leave any stone unturned, we just kept going back to him. So when we were able to dispel everything he was telling us, I went back to doing regular cold cases, old homicides.
The investigation was starting to focus in on George Washington. Several days after the girls disappeared, George Washington's house and car were searched. Receipts that they found in his home indicate that on July 7th, so the day after the girls' disappearance, he went to a hardware store where he purchased a large package of industrial trash bags and 2 pairs of gloves. When the police came to his home, there were 5 trash bags missing from that roll, and one of the pairs of gloves was never found. George Washington told the police that the trash bags had been used in a home renovation project and that he had filled them and disposed of them in a dumpster in a nearby park.
This is the same location that George Washington claimed to have brought those garbage bags over to the lagoon area. He rode with CPD detectives over here to give them the exact location as to where the garbage cans were and where the garbage was, but by the time they got here, it had been taken.
When they spoke to George's neighbors, the neighbors said that they had seen George Washington burning something in a barrel in his garage.
I actually found one of the young men sitting on the porch, and he said George Washington was burning the barrels in his backyard and had taken the barrel after it cooled and threw the barrel in the trunk.
George Washington denied that this ever happened and also denied even owning a barrel. However, when the FBI went to investigate, they found evidence of charring on the rafters of his garage. And in the trunk of his car, they found striations that were consistent with the size and shape of an industrial barrel, the kind of industrial barrel that his neighbors said that they saw him burning something in.
George Washington was really scrutinized, but again, nothing much led to him being a person of interest. Just questions and no answers.
George gave a statement to the media saying, "I don't know who did anything. I just know that I had nothing to do with it." But I have had a lot of different scenarios go through my mind as to why George would hurt these girls. It has crossed my mind that it's the possibility George didn't want to pay Tracy child support, killed Diamond, and Tionda saw it. Therefore, he had to kill Tionda as well. Is that a possibility? Absolutely it is.
George Washington, we put him on a polygraph back in 2001. The brass of the police department just loved polygraphs. I think they just thought the sun rose and set on them, although they're not admissible. Polygraphs are a tool that we use. They're not the be-all, end-all. I've seen people that I've known were guilty pass them. I've seen people that were innocent fail them. But in George's defense, he passed a polygraph.
The consensus was Wherever the girls are, they went with someone that they knew. And then all of the speculation at that time was around George Washington, where it led all of us to believe if he didn't do it, he knows something. And what is he hiding?
George, can we talk to you for just a moment? No comment at all. There's no comment at all, okay?
There was not enough to charge George with anything, charge Tracy with anything. At this point, they're just two people that might have the answers to the last steps that Tionda and Diamond took inside of that apartment. After a few days of the investigation, Tracy shut down. Tracy stopped communicating with the police department when the questions for her got tough. I get it. I understand that. Not being able to deal and just the initial trauma of dealing with your two daughters that's missing. I understand that. But as a detective, I still need to do my due diligence and probe this further. At some point, you shut down and no longer wanted to communicate with the Chicago Police Department.
I feel like they took, like I was a criminal, and I wasn't, you know? You took me being afraid, you know what I'm saying, scared, you know? And
tell me what you're afraid of. You didn't want what to happen?
I go to jail. I took Rita and Victoria to school. Well, you know, they follow me everywhere, detectives and everything. And detectives get out the car, threw me to the gate. Put me in the car, had me handcuffed and everything. Now they take me through a
After a certain amount of time, the note that Tionda left, it was examined by law enforcement, and it was confirmed that it was her handwriting.
Would Tionda have left a note on her own?
Reading it, I'm like, nah, that's not the way Tionda speaks. Well, Tionda did have a minor reading disability.
Okay.
That's why she was in summer school, because she had reading problems.
Okay.
For example, if you said need, write the word I need to go, it'll be I need, but it might have been N-E-I-D versus N-E-E-D.
Do you think Tionda wrote the note?
Yeah.
I think she wrote it.
She was forced to write it, but it was her handwriting. Because we never had to write a note when we knew my mom's number. You know, if we was always in the house by ourselves, we'll call her.
My sister Faith pulled out another note that Tionda had wrote and compared the two. The grammar doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't match.
It doesn't match.
I felt that it had to be somebody that they knew who forced Tionda. But who?
Chicago hasn't given up on Diamond and Tionda. A private investigator even volunteered his services.
I'm Foster. I'm a local private investigator in the Chicago, Illinois area. Late August of 2001, I was asked to join the case to assist the local law enforcement agency interviewing people that did not have a good relationship with the Chicago Police Department at the time.
Investigator Foster is an excellent investigator. Gave me a bridge to the family. When I did my due diligence on them, I found that they didn't have much contact with the police at all.
Yeah, I talked to Foster, and we would sit up on the phone sometimes until 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be crying, and he gives me the advisement, and then at the end of the day, he pray with me.
I had got acquainted with Investigator Foster. My mind was set that this would be the firm that helped look for Tionda and Diamond. These would be the private investigators.
With Diamond, before her disappearance, Tracy had asked George to take a paternity test, and 3 weeks after the girls disappeared, but after George Washington's house and car were searched, the results of it came back.
DNA testing was completed, and it's safe to say that the test came back positive that George Washington is the father of Diamond.
Yes.
That right there, makes the hairs kind of go up on my neck, because there could be several things that could have taken place, especially if George was so determined to not pay child support. It just brings to life, so many other conclusions that we can come to about what happened to Tionda and Diamond.
We're talking about a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old. They just don't walk off the face of the earth. The first thing that popped in my mind was to do more of a serious investigation of George Washington.
He already lied, said he can't have any kids because he had a vasectomy, So when Diamond came, I knew he lied about that. And then when...
He lied to you a lot, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. But all the time, I never saw the wife, but I think when the wife found out about Diamond, I think she completely left.
And you've been in a relationship with this man for, at least, Diamond's 3.
3, yes.
So at least 3 years.
George Washington was the biological father of Diamond, and it seems like all the evidence seems to point to George Washington. But it's all has been circumstantial evidence. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there has to be certain evidence to meet the burden of proof.
A few months have passed, leads had gone cold, and when leads start to go cold, resources are diverted to other more pressing cases that are fresher. Without fresh leads, there's not much more that they can do.
The unthinkable happened today. The World Trade Center, both towers gone, and we are all witnesses to it, and to some degree we are all victims.
The girls disappeared on July 6th of 2001, and 2 months later was the September 11th attacks. At the time, huge amounts of resources were suddenly being diverted to, potential terror attacks and that sort of thing. And so not only did the media attention on the case dry up, but I believe also some of the interest from law enforcement because of kind of the situation in the rest of the country.
I don't even come outside. I stay in the house 24/24. I don't even come outside no more. I even stopped that.
I think the further that the Bradleys got from the day of the disappearance, the more difficult things became. They were left almost on their own.
Whoever you are, your family knows what you did. Y'all need to break the silence.
Every year there's a vigil. Every year, there's a little bit on the news, and every year it becomes less and less.
When my nieces were missing, I was 39 going on 40. 2001 felt like a death sentence. 2002 felt like an execution. 2003 felt like I was up on the chopping block. But they still had it in their mind that they would probably find them.
Back in May 2005, there was a major discovery on the south side of Chicago. So I decided to drive out to that location, about 20 minutes from the Bradley's home, to see if anything new will come back to me. There was some workers working out here along these railroad tracks, and some bones were discovered. And so, of course, the police department came out immediately, and they brought forensics with them, and they did gather the bones that were found.
Human bones found at a far south side construction site are being sent to an FBI lab in Virginia for DNA testing. It's possible that the bones could have belonged to one of the missing Bradley sisters. News of the bones have been both good and unsettling. At the Southside Church, 10-year-old Tionda and 3-year-old Diamond Bradley's family are members.
Revered forensic scientist Dr. Clyde Snow, best known for working with the John Wayne Gacy case, was called in to analyze and test the bones that were found. They were of a teenage girl.
There was a reason for concern because of her age, and they didn't quite have her ethnic background profile worked up. And, of course I wanted to make sure that it wasn't Tionda, because she would have been too old to be Diamond, according to the bone sizes.
Friends at the church say the girl's family would like some closure, but at the same time, they still hold out that Tionda and Diamond are still alive.
Of course, the FBI came out, forensics came out, and the FBI did a DNA analysis on the remains that were found, and it turned out to not be any association with Tionda or Diamond.
It was not them. There was a sigh of relief, because that still gives you hope that the girls are still alive.
With a case that was this big, there's, I think, 6 file cabinets full of information on the case. I still forged forward. I would work leads when they came in, and a very good bit of advice that the lieutenant gave me was start from the beginning. So that's where I started. And I came upon what I thought at the time was a tremendous piece of evidence. There was hairs recovered from the trunk of George Washington's car in 2001 when detectives had gone to George's house a couple of days after the kids had gone missing. For some unknown reason, the hairs were never submitted to the crime lab.
Investigators did find evidence, including a hair in the trunk of a car, but nothing conclusive enough to make an arrest.
To know that there was evidence or potential evidence that was just sitting there, knowingly, untested, is disappointing. It's actually infuriating. You have 2 girls that are missing. Whatever evidence you come across, you make sure it's processed. You don't leave it out. You just don't.
This is the first positive piece of evidence that we've recovered in years, and it was recovered from George's trunk. So I submitted these hairs to the FBI crime lab at Quantico to see if it was a match to Tionda and Diamond. I was sitting in the state's attorney's office with an assistant state's attorney that I was keeping up to date on the case, and we got a call that the hair came back a mitochondrial match to Tionda and Tracy, and I was ecstatic. And the state's attorney's office kind of tempered my enthusiasm by saying it wasn't going to be enough to bring anybody in. And I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff, so kind of burst my balloon at that point. I still took it as a positive. I was energized by it.
That does sound a bit incriminating when you hear it on its face, but You know, there are a variety of ways that may have happened. The little girl may have put her backpack in Tracy's boyfriend's car on her way to school one day, or she may have placed an object in the trunk that may have had a piece of her hair on it. And so there just wasn't enough evidence.
George had always denied that the hairs were in his trunk for any suspicious reasons. But I still have questions.
In a prior interview, Washington had said he used to put the kids in the trunk and sneak them into the drive-in. Well, I couldn't find any drive-ins that were open in the Chicagoland area back in 2001. Most of them were closed.
Did you and George and the girls ever go to a drive-in? A drive-in theater that you can recall? Or a movie theater, for that matter?
Wow. I can't recall, I don't remember.
All right. Do you ever recall George putting your girls in the trunk of his car to sneak them into a drive-in?
No.
No.
Why would he say he took your girls and you to the drive-in? Why would he say that?
I don't know. When you say that he took me to the drive-in, I don't recall. He taking me to no drive-in.
He said that.
Never happened.
You never remember nothing like that?
I talked to George about that. I said, George, why was Tionda hair in your car? And he said that he snuck them into the movie theater. And I say, but Tracy said y'all never went to the drive-in. He said, that's a damn lie.
He never put you in the trunk of his car?
I never got in his trunk or nothing.
Never been in the trunk of his car.
Never went to a movie with him.
Never
That's
went
why
out
I
to
don't
eat, not to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Nowhere. It was never like that.
That's why I'm like, when people, no, never went to the movies with him. Never got in his trunk. Never went nowhere.
Ever.
In 2003, there was a very interesting development that piqued our interest. Tracy had another baby with George Washington. Now there's a little boy, George Jr. And so George took her to court in 2011 to get custody. I believe that George played mind games with Tracy. He would make her feel like, you know, he loved her at sometimes, and then at other times he would make her feel like, you know, she was the dirt under his feet. Eventually, you had a second baby.
Yes.
Which is George Jr.
Yes.
You lost custody of George Jr.
Yes, I did. I fought the best fight I could. Then I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have no money, you know what I'm saying?
He disappointed you in your life.
Yeah.
And you feel like he stole your children out of your life.
I feel like he snatched a lot of stuff from me.
Okay.
My dignity, my heart, my mom. I know she's passed away. She's turning over now. My children, me, knowing that they're not in the house with me, you know, can't sleep sometimes.
To live in fear is no way to live.
As time went on, despite the case remaining unsolved, occasionally the media would revisit the story, which has helped in keeping this case present in people's minds.
And I do appreciate the national media outlets who did highlight this case all the time. TV One, they had a show called Find Our Missing, and one episode was dedicated to Diamond and Tionda.
We reached out to George Washington via Facebook, and he responded. He said he wouldn't agree to an interview, but he did say this: "It's funny that the family points the finger at me, but the courts seem to feel differently."
A woman in Indiana named Letitia Hicks commented on that piece on their website, saying that she had information about where George Washington was the day that the girls disappeared and that that information implicated him in their disappearance.
My next person that I'm going to bring up, Ed,
Yes.
is Miss Letitia Hicks. What do you know about this lady, Letitia Hicks?
So received the message from her stating that she know what happened to the girls.
She had to get it off her chest that George showed up at her house. He had been drinking. He was shaken.
So received the message from her that she think George had something to do with it.
So you text her back?
Yeah, of course, because I wanted answers.
Well, when I interviewed Letitia, she said that George had blood on him. He had a pair of oversized gym shorts underneath his pants.
He took a shower at her house?
He took a shower at her house, yes.
When police followed up with her about that, however, the timeline did not match up at all with the facts of the case. So she first claimed that this incident had happened on the 4th of July, which is 2 days before the girls disappeared. In addition to that, even if she had gotten the date wrong, so even if this alleged incident had happened on July 6th, when the girls did disappear, Washington's cell phone records do not match up at all with her version of the story. So she lives in Indiana, and his cell phone records show him to be definitively in the Chicago area for the entirety of the day.
I'll be the first one to say I dismissed her too quickly. I wouldn't be the first time I was wrong. It won't be the last. But I just wish I could find something that ties her to him. And that's why the negative Nelly is coming up.
Okay. Despite the fact that this case is 22 years old, every year brings new surprises, and in May of 2023, I learned of a new development.
Good afternoon. We begin today with a possible break in a Chicago missing persons case that's more than 20 years old.
A woman claims she is Diamond, and she's gone to the FBI.
Here with Diamond Bradley. That's me. This is Diamond Bradley. Can I see your scar? She still have that scar.
Shalia Bradley Smith said this young woman submitted a swab of DNA and fingerprints at an FBI office in Texas earlier this week.
If what this woman in Texas is saying is true, this could be the biggest break in the case in 22 years. The Bradley family and I decide to fly to Texas, where this woman is located, to try to meet her and see if there's any truth to her story. So we're sitting here with Tracy Bradley and April Bradley and Investigator Foster, and we have traveled from Chicago to Houston, Texas, all because a young lady put on TikTok that she is Diamond Bradley. And Tracy's feeling was that you wanted to come here to meet the girl that could possibly be your daughter.
Yes. Just to meet my daughter that has been missing for 22 years.
And you would know immediately?
And I would know immediately to know that that's my daughter. Yes.
If she really are Diamond, I want to make sure that she gets the help that she needs to the right peoples. So I end up FaceTiming her while I was at work. And I just asked her, I said, what made you think that you're Diamond? And her response was the way that she grew up, and her parents are treating her wrong every time I ask a question about where I'm from. And I said, well, you know what? I have the right person for you to get in contact with. So that's when I contacted Detective Foster.
Okay. So all of these conversations has led us to where we are right now, right here at this moment. Once in Texas, we set up a phone call with the young lady claiming to be Diamond. Our hope is that she will meet with us that afternoon to reunite her with Tracy and determine if she really is Diamond after all.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, because we're just trying to get the point is we're working that if it's not no DNA came in, why did y'all fly all the way from Chicago to Houston? Like what was the point? Like it's weird.
Because the mother of Diamond wants to meet her daughter. That's all.
Okay, that's fine. I know, I understand that. But why does she want to meet her without a DNA?
Listen, we don't know when the DNA is gonna come back. At the end of the day, we are here trying to unite a family. That's all we're here for. Yeah, I'm sorry. You said you're not comfortable until you get the results back.
Yes, to be honest, and I honestly feel like we should all meet at the FBI office if that's what it's given, because I don't feel comfortable meeting anybody, anywhere.
Let me ask you this: Would you be comfortable doing a Zoom right now or no?
Why would I do a Zoom and I haven't even got the DNA back? I keep getting threats. I've had to deactivate all my social media. No, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want nobody to see me. I let my auntie see me, and that was good enough. Until I get that DNA back, I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't even know if you who you say you is.
Oh my God, I'm done. Okay, no problem. All right, we
Damn.
Now it makes me feel like it's just she full of
Just say, let's just sit
These
down.
people are backing off for whatever reason.
So they got all night until we leave tomorrow to make a decision. I'm just this game back and forth. It's crazy.
Get that decision, then we just wait for the DNA.
Yeah, just.
And if anything, whenever she want to meet again, we'll fly back down there again.
If she ever
Just
want to meet
wasting our
again,
time.
you know we're down for it.
Father God, as we stand here as humble as we are, looking for a resolution.
Yes.
Father God, guide us. Give us understanding. Give this mother, Father God, your son's blood that the family is looking to reunite with this individual who claimed to be Diamond.
The DNA results did not come back while we were in Texas and have yet to be revealed. But back in Chicago, the family has not lost hope.
It will be 22 years in July that the sisters have been missing.
It's been a long, long journey. And hopefully that this journey will be over. I don't know when. I can't promise you guys when, but just hopefully it'll be over. I just hope that they return home and to me and my family.
Another year has passed, and still Diamond and Tionda Bradley are not home.
I thank each and every one for coming out. Again, it has been 22 years, and next year it's going to continue. Every year it's going to continue going on and on until we find Diamond and Tionda. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Tionda.
I need you guys' support. I love you guys and continue supporting my family.
Since the girl's disappearance, there have been several times that they've commissioned a forensic artist to create an age-progressed image of what the girls might look like now. And so these age-progressed images of the girls are potentially one of the strongest avenues that we might have for getting them back if in fact they are still alive and they are still out there. Someone could recognize these progressions and send in a tip. That could be the thing that does it.
What do you think happened? The honest true as what's in your heart.
Man.
I'm crying.
I think it's more so you really don't want to think the worst about a situation. I still be thinking it's a possibility, but I have my days. Well, I feel like they're gone. That's my mama's seed. That's my mama's generation. That's my mama's blood. I can't let that go. I will do what I had to do to find my nieces. These are my nieces. Everybody in the family should be as adamant as I am about finding Tionda and Diamond. Everybody.
Thousands of man hours from the Chicago Police Department, people like us have been put into this. I'm going to ask you point blank, do you know what happened to your kids?
No, I would have told you. I want justice for it. For 21 years of suffering. Couldn't go outside without somebody saying, there go Miss Bradley. She had something to do with them kids being missing. And I'm strong and I'm better.
Even though I was just in Texas with Tracy, we've received some new information that sends our heads spinning about her phone records. So I'm on my way to meet Tracy for a follow-up interview to discuss an inconsistency in her story that has come to light. I have to know what Tracy doesn't want to say, what Tracy's afraid of. On the evening of the 5th, on the night, when he say the 6th, he's talking about any time after midnight.
No, I was at home.
You did not go to George Washington's house?
No, because I had to go to work the next day.
Okay.
Just that day, on that day, midnight. I mean, I have to be at work at 7 o'clock.
Go ahead.
So here's what's happening. Well, you had previously told me on the night of the 5th, after dropping off Victoria and Rita, that you were at your place, is that we have some information that calls were made to your home between the hours of 7 and 2 a.m.
That's correct. 2:17 to be exact.
I don't remember.
And you were not home.
On the 5th?
2:17 a.m. is the 6th.
Yeah.
And so...
2 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's going into the 6th?
Yes.
No, I was at home.
Well...
We got the facts. We just need you to...
Maybe I did. Maybe I did.
And you did what?
Was at Mr. Washington house.
That night of the 6th?
The night of the...
Going to the 6th.
That is correct.
Going into it. It's a possibility that you left Tiani and Diamond.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah?
Yeah, what?
I was at Mr. Washington house.
Tell me how you know.
Because early in the morning the sun was shining.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember us coming down State Street. We was coming down State Street early in the morning. We took, we never did get on the expressway.
Okay.
So I remember us coming down. No, we took the expressway. And we was coming up from 47 ramp. And we got off. And he dropped me off right in front of the job.
And you remember that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time was that? Do you remember?
Oh, I had to be at work at 7. Because I had to open up. And I had to, because I was serving lunch for the summer school, for the summer school stuff for the kids. So, Park District.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
it's all right. It's all right. Come on, we got to be strong here.
So while you were at George's house that night, what did you guys do?
I don't know. Probably we probably get something to eat or, just go back, to the house.
Did you guys stop any place to get something to eat before you arrived at his house that night?
Oh, we stopped there. I don't know. We had Burger King. I don't even know.
Okay.
So the question still hasn't been answered. The question is, why did you tell the police department that you last saw your children that morning before you went to work?
Scared.
To find it. I'm sorry?
Scared. Then just say it, Tracy. It's okay to say it. It's all right to be afraid.
It's okay. We're going to see you through this.
Tracy has been so inconsistent in her behavior, in her interviews. She nonetheless is now stating, which is totally different from what has ever been reported to CPD, that she didn't leave her house at 6 a.m. and said, Tionda, don't open the door and don't go outside for anybody. Right. She's telling me that she spent the night at George Washington's house. This means that the girls were on their own all night, from the evening of July 5th all the way through July 6th, with no supervision.
I was shocked simply because that has been her story all along.
Yes.
Now, part of the problem is that we can't establish some sort of timeline of what time did all of this actually occur. We don't definitively know what time the kids had gone missing.
Now that the timeline for when the girls disappeared has changed, I've decided to form a task force to get to the bottom of what really happened to the girls. We can bring something to the table to try and find Tionda and Diamond.
Well, at this point, there's a lot of information that we're still seeking, and we will bring a successful solution in prosecuting this case for the individuals that are responsible for Diamond and Tionda being missing.
And we are going to crack this thing wide open, and we're going to bring some peace to this family, some peace to this city, and some peace to ourselves, because this is what we've been waiting for. I would wake up at night sometimes, and I just had these thoughts like, how could this happen? Where could they be? What happened?
Right.
The reason why we can solve this is because we're retired and we don't have a caseload. We don't really have anything holding us back.
Right. With our institutional knowledge from this case and just the way we used to do things, I think we can be very successful.
I know we're going to be successful.
We're coming for you. Whoever you are, we're coming for you. We're not going to rest until we find you.
We need to, let the spiders out, clear the webs. Let us get into your secrets. Everybody has secrets, every family. That's what we are going to do here with working this investigation. I want to know what you don't want me to know. And somebody knows what happened to Tionda and Diamond.